So I'll just start with some general offensive thoughts, and I put Princeton in brackets because I just think that this applies to everything. First off, I think when you're talking to your players, I think there's a rhythm to good offense. The ball's not moving too fast. It's not too slow. It's not getting stuck. I think you're really, you're trying to create some sort of advantageous situation for your guys where they're making a read on their catch. They have a half sec, and you're trying to give them a half-second advantage. So as they're catching it or before they're catching it, I think really good offensive players, before they've even caught the ball, have a pretty good idea of where other people are on the floor and what's available to them. If not, then I think you're going to look, face, and see what goes on. And that becomes, there's a rhythm to it. It's, it's a rim post action, ball moves, rim post action. There's a rhythm to it, except when somebody's catching and being aggressive. I wanted to talk about that. There's counters. We want people to move. We want the ball to move. When there's good offense, I think, whether we're talking about the triangle offense, the high post offense, Princeton, the swing, some form of systematic offense, there are counters and when you're teaching your offense, teaching those counters first, I think allows people to feel a little bit more relaxed. It's not that you have to jam something down somebody's throat. They're looking for something. If that's not there, it's just they go to a counter. It's similar to a drop back quarterback. He's looking for the post pattern. If the post isn't there, he looks to an out. And if he doesn't see the out, he knows he's always got the hot receiver, which is the running back out on the flats or something like that. I think that when you have a system of play, it feels like a comfortable pair of shoes. When you're stressed, you just slide back into that pair of shoes. So I think that the system of play, it doesn't always force some basketball player to have to make a play. Sometimes the offense will get you a play. And that's your execution. It's not, hey, let's throw the ball to LeBron and he goes to work. Maybe if you got LeBron, you can do that. But if you don't, then I think you want to have a situation where when things get tight, guys can go back to something that is comfortable for them. Again, I talked about this before, but you teach your counters first. When I was a player, we ran the high post. You'd come down and you'd want to go guard to guard. We never learned going guard to guard and running guard cut first. It was always the very first thing you learned was what was called guard back door, or what some people might call the blind pig. If you couldn't go guard to guard, then you went guard to forward and the guard went back door. And they taught the counter first so that, when you can make that pass, now we're going to run guard cut, but you teach your counter first. I think that in the Princeton offense or in flow or motion, whatever you want to call it, the back cut or the basket cut is absolutely critical. Don Meyer would say the basket cut is the foundation of motion offense. I know maybe using the word motion offense isn't as modern. Everybody wants to talk about flow now, but I think that anytime you're cutting and attacking the rim, that produces help. And when that produces help, that cut often helps others get open. I think immature players want to run to the ball. I think mature players, guys that really get it, they're making cuts that may free a teammate. I think that, when you're talking about, and I apologize for being all over the shop here, but I think when you're talking about offense, you're talking, with certain players are better at making certain cuts. So you may determine what those cuts are a little bit more, but at the heart of things, the back cut is the foundation of Princeton or motion offense or flow or whatever you want to talk about. We're trying to get the ball into the lane a number of ways. I think good offense provides you those opportunities, whether it's throwing it into the post and getting it into the lane, whether it's driving it to a naked area, naked block, and getting a one-on-one situation, or back cutting and having a one-on-one situation. And if it's one-on-one, then that's what you're training your guys for. Can you make a play one-on-one in the post, off the drive, off a back cut? If you can, then lots of times people have to load up and commit 2 to the ball. And then when there's 2 to the ball, that's when the ball starts to move. And we'll try to show that a little bit when I get into a little bit of video. I like the fact that in the Princeton, lots of times pick and roll is happening later in the possession. You're first trying to get, whether it's a back cut, ball reversal, post up, you're trying to attack the rim without the pick and roll early in the possession. I like it later in your possession. Just Pete Newell would talk about offense and say that you want to play at a medium pace. That way you're never sped up, you're never slowed down. I think that pace ends up being something. I know everybody says, hey, we want to get out and run, get out and run. Well, what happens if somebody slows you down? I think that becomes a bit of an issue. This is the Princeton offense, and people think that it's but it's flow. Players have options. When it comes to cutting, there are a number of cuts they can make. We're not dictating the cut that they make. They're making reads. You can screen. You can screen a number of different ways. You can go right, left, whatever. Every single time down, the players are actually in control of what's going on. The coach is not.
Coach, can I just get you to throw this up? Everyone wants this in the slideshow, just so it's a little bigger for some of the people on smaller tablets right now.
Sure.
Right at the top there, just go straight up from where you are and hit that slideshow button.
Slideshow?
Yeah, it should be up a little bit higher and to the left.
Oh, yeah, there. Yeah.
Yeah, you should be able to hit that. And then from current slide, I believe, go all the way to the left over there. Yeah.
Oh, like that?
Yeah, and then just hit spacebar to move it.
I need to know how to get to that.
There you go, Coach.
Yeah. Anyways, players have options. We're not dictating. It's some of your cuts, some of your screening may be based upon your personnel, but again, the players are in control. Some issues in regards to Princeton or off-ball action. I think when you're playing against physical defenders that physically hold your cutting and screening, it can slow you down. And if you're not more physical than the opposition, in a lot of ways, you're probably going to be in a bit of trouble sometimes. So it is a little bit dependent upon officiating. If you're big and strong and you're the Lord and Master of the jungle, cutting, you can. We'll talk about how to cut physically and so forth. Sometimes a pack line defense actually gives you more issues than if somebody's overplaying. The pack line takes away your back cut, and that requires a little bit more ball movement, screening, and tighter execution, I think. And it can be a little jump shooty, but I guess every offense can be if people are going to go under things. And I think as soon as we start going under screenaways, drift screen, flare screen, ball screen, that's going to slow your movement. So the more skilled you are, I think the more you're going to force the over. And if you force the over, there's 2 to the ball, and then the ball gets moving. So I'll try to show that a little bit on video as we go along. And then I probably, like I said, I'm all over the shop. But when we're talking about offense, the very first thing I think, as you're teaching your offense and as you're evaluating as the season goes on, are your best scorers and best players getting the most shots? That's the most important thing on offense. That shot distribution is your offense. And while this can be motion or flow or whatever, you can still put restrictions on it, especially in practice, that, hey, this guy's got to be the shooter, this guy's got to be the scorer, these 2 guys, whatever it happens to be. And then, just the analytics of things. Hey, we're looking for layups, which are high percentage shots, free throws, high percentage, and then threes as well. And then obviously the contested two isn't something that people are looking for, but your best guys, I think, are capable of doing that. So I'll just start with some different concepts, and some guidelines. So some guidelines for it. First off, you watch what the teammate in front of you does. They'll tell you what to do. You're playing off the guy that's in front of you. So if he goes backdoor, I'm going to lift. The guy in front of you tells you what is going to happen. If he's coming to screen for you, then you're going to wait. I think a lot of times players want to start, especially younger players, want to just start. They want to start moving for no good reason. And Coach Wooden would say, don't mistake activity for achievement. Hey, just when in doubt, space out and just wait. Secondly, the ball must be shared. Thirdly, sprint your cuts. When we're talking about cutting off the ball, every cut is a sprint cut. Every cut is a scoring cut. Every cut is a physical cut. You're cutting. If you cut hard, it draws attention, and that's how you get your teammates open. It's like a wide receiver who's running in football. He's running a play pattern. It may be a handoff. If he runs a good play pattern, he keeps the DB and maybe a safety with him, so that if the running back gets past the first line of scrimmage, that's opened up. I think that mature players understand that. Immature players, sometimes jog their cuts, go through the motions, and don't understand. Even though your cut, you may not get the ball, it produces scoring opportunities. Cut to score, it's along the same lines. There's a counter for everything the defense does. So you do the opposite of what the defense is doing. If the defense is sagging, we're coming to the ball. If there's hard overplay, we're going back door. And we'll talk about those reads and some concepts of that as I go along, I guess. Coach Knight used to have a concept of basically dissecting the floor from sideline to sideline. And he'd say that if your defender was high of that line, you wanted to take your defender high and cut low. If your defender was low, you wanted to take your defender low and cut high. That's really what we're talking about here, whether we're talking about what's going on the ball on a handoff or a ball screen, or whether it's a down screen situation. The dribble keys actions in the Princeton offense. I think catching and facing the basket and being judicious with your dribble and not dribbling the ball right away is an important thing. Lots of kids want to catch it and put it on the floor right away or dance with the ball. And I think when that happens, everybody stops moving. I think that can be an offensive killer. So we're big on guys catching and facing and looking at the basket. 10 toes to the rim, 2 eyes to the rim in a triple attack position. From that position, I think the floor opens up and you can make choices. If that player doesn't see something off the ball that presents itself to them, they're going to dribble, and oftentimes, you could be dribbling to attack, and we'll get to that, and spacing the court. But the dribble keys in action, and when you dribble you're always dribbling at the baseline ass cheek of the defender. That is so that you can produce a couple things: a loss of vision. You're punching the gap, and maybe the offense looks at the cutter, and you can feed a ball right underneath their hand. Maybe they instead of looking at the cutter, they're looking at the guy that's attacking the gap, in which case the cutter's open. Or if they dribble at the baseline ass cheek of that defender and the guy doesn't go back door, but he actually comes to the ball on a handoff, you produce the over. And if you can produce the over, that's provided the guy that's coming off that can play. If he couldn't play, probably they're going to go under. But if he can play and they go over, now that's when you produce help and the ball starts moving. And I think that dribbling, it's just like when you ball screen. Anytime you ball screen, you don't want to screen the shoulder of the defender. You want to screen the back shoulder blade because if I screen the back shoulder blade, now that produces as a defender, I have to get up and into the ball and go over. If I screen here, or if I were to screen the chest of the front shoulder of the defender, now the defender can go under, and the under slows ball movement. It does open the possibility of shooting, but there's no ball movement. It gets a little stagnant, and there you'd be jump shooty, I guess. When receiving a dribble, don't cut until the ball's bounced. We don't want you going early. It's always better on offense to be late. We'll talk about some cutting principles, but on defense, offense and defense are the antithesis to each other. So, on defense, you're always talking about your guys about attacking dribble penetration early to help. Well, if you want to be early on defense, I think you want to be late on offense. They're opposites of each other. So we want to be late to cut. And with the dribble, it's really important that you wait. Anytime you're cutting, expect to score late. Cutters open up late, and we'll see that a little bit on the videotape, but passes should be delivered low and late or high and late. And we talk about it. You don't want to give the guy the ball too early. You put the offensive player, I think, in a bad position, and that's being a good passer and a good ball handler, I think. We want to hit the cutter with a bounce pass. Sometimes some guys can deliver that off a direct bounce pass off the dribble. Other guys can't, depending upon their skill levels. Respacing. If you back cut and you hit the rim and you don't get the ball, we want you getting out. Whether if you started from the wing, we always ask our guys to exit out the top. If you started from the top, we always ask that you exit out the weak side. But you got to get respaced off of. You can't stop your cut at the rim. You can sometimes if you're a good poster and you can duck the guy back, and I'll try to deal with that as well. If you reject a screen, always fill out the opposite side. Maybe I'm just going to try and show a little bit of video because I'm getting sick of the sound of my own voice. So I'm just going to show. This is that okay there?
Yeah, it's queued up. Yep, you bet.
So we played Gonzaga a couple of years back. And so I just thought I would show a little bit of videotape here of some bad transition defense. And then just what we're talking about with offense. First off, I think we're talking about teaching above everything else skill level. The guy that's dribbling the ball there is 6'10". I'm not sure that he's called a point guard, but in this instance, he's dribbling the ball up the floor. We could call that the point guard position. We like everybody to be able to play. We're looking for universal basketball players and skilled basketball players, and we're training that daily. We're working on cutting, passing, screening, whether you're 6'10" or 5'10". So in this case, it gets the ball over half, and takes us a little while to get organized. And, the next concept within the Princeton or within offense now, would be the flash game or getting your big above and playing and opening up the court. You're watching NBA teams play without a true center now, or if they are a center, there are guys that can space the court. In this instance, we've just snapped it back to point is what we'd call it. We're setting a screen, sprinting his cut, and now in that we've opened up the 5-man who we want to cut to his range. This fella here, Talon Milne, he's at about 19 feet. I think he might be a couple feet outside his range, but you want to cut to where they have to guard you, and they guard him. Now, as soon as the next thing I think is once you hit the big, whether we want to call it a big above, we want to call it the flash game, or in the Princeton, you'd call it point. the very first thing you're looking for is the hand back, and you have the offensive player going downhill. In this instance, 15 could pass it right back to the 6'10" guy, and hopefully we produce the over. And if we did produce the over, then the big's going to have to help, or they're going to have to help off the wing. Again, what we're talking about, trying to get one-on-one or two to the ball. He doesn't really make the most physical cut, and he decides to go and split. But while the split's going on, our offensive player, the flash, has decided to go away from the action. And in doing so, we produce the over. So there's the over by the defense. And this is Brett Rewalt. He's going to make it. This is pretty crummy spacing here. But he's making right now, his defender isn't in front of him, and he's going to punch the lane. We're going to try to get the ball in the lane and see if we can get a one-on-one or two to the ball situation. In this case here, the defender fakes at the guy, and in doing so, he gets himself a layup. And I think that is flow offense, whether we want to talk about playing with a big above the point, or if we wanted to talk about the concept of the flash game. So I wanted to show that. I have another clip here that I have at, see if I can just kind of get it a little queued up here. So off of a free throw situation, we kind of ran a set thing, which we thought would flow into it, which again I think is never a bad idea for you to have an idea of what you're going to do off of every free throw situation you're organized. So we're coming down, and again, we're in a two-guard front. Our big's trailing. We passed, and we cut to the corner. We just call this corner. In an ideal world, what we would like to do is we'd like to take the trailer and cut him to the corner and have two guys in each corner, a guy at the foul line extended, and somebody kind of in the high slot to just open that up. And again, we're bringing our big above, and we're playing flash game. So now we're playing flash game. He goes to make a speed cut and look for the hand back. The defender's being physical. There is no hand back. So he's going to screen right here. He screens, and I think that the big fella could have used the screen. It's a little big off-ball screen. He decides to go backdoor. Again, the backdoor cut is a good option in that every backdoor cut, when you do that, oftentimes produces help. If he goes backdoor and he's open, this defender here is the guy that can help, the guy that's the low eye. He goes backdoor with a very weak cut. He got muscled off. It didn't produce much help. But the defender guarding the screen loosened up. We've dribbled we've produced an over. They've muscled us off that cut as well. We're getting out physical here a little bit by Gonzaga. It's getting a little bit later in the shot clock. We've hit an open player. There's a ball screen, and we produced the over. And he did have a pocket pass, but they had a pretty good show there. He didn't read the pocket pass. Anytime you can't go off the pocket pass, we like to either come to a jump stop and throw it off the ass of the defender, the big, or we like to attack that gap like so. We produce help on a drawn kick, and that was about that guy's range, 17 feet, Talon Mill. So I wanted to, again, just trying different ways of producing the over off of the flash game. And I realize I'm probably doing a terrible job of this clinic, but hopefully there's something here to be seen. We've passed it. Sorry, go ahead.
It's great. It's great so far, Coach. Good job.
So we've passed, we've inside cut. Anytime we pass and enter offense, for us, we want to get spaced. The point guard could have cut to the ball side corner. He could have cut to the weak side corner. And that kind of cues an action. He cut to the ball side corner. Again, we would like to empty this guy out and kind of exchange those two spots. But this was early in the season for us. Our execution wasn't that great. And now, again, we're into a flash game. We brought our big up. We back cut. And in this case, he does not have 10 toes to the rim. he's being out physical. If he had 10 toes to the rim and was facing in a triple attack position, I think he'd see the big fella's going to be open. See that they're chasing and the low eye is outside that guy. And I'll try to talk about that concept maybe on the whiteboard behind me here in a sec. But anytime the help is outside the guy, anytime you feed somebody that's cutting to the rim, Coach Majerus would say, you need to know how you're played, if it's a post feed, how you're played, how the post defender is playing, and what the weak side is doing. I think that is a truism in feeding the post. I also think it's a truism in feeding a cutter. So you need to know how you're played, which you better know, and that's facing the basket. You have to see how the cutter's played, in which case here, the cutter's made a clever cut. He's been played high of that line that Coach Knight would talk about, so he's cut low. In cutting low, he takes his cut. Every cut is to the front of the rim. Every cut's a scoring cut. Every cut's a sprint cut. And he's going to be open because the low eye is outside. If the help is outside, the cutter's open. If the low eye or the help is inside, then that guy's offensive player is going to be open, and that we would call the lift. So if you had just looked and seen the guy to the front of the rim, we would have had a dunk against Gonzaga, but he didn't see that guy, and he got a little panicky. I guess we're playing in the big time here. We're playing the number 13 seed in the nation at this time. They ended up losing in the Elite Eight to Duke, I believe, that year. So they were a good basketball team. And his cut did produce a catch for the guard. We produced an over on the ball screen, and the big is playing back. So now we want to attack that big, which we do, and now we have two to the ball. And in doing that, when he cuts, if the defender's outside, you want to hit the cutter. If the defender was loaded, you'd want to hit the lift. So he hits with a little pocket pass, and we get, I think, a pretty good shot, but we don't make it. So, again, I apologize for maybe being all over the map here with my chat, but that's what we're trying to do in the Princeton a little bit with playing with a big above, and how we're trying to get the over and then the reads off the over or the reads off of the dribble at. And I think that would be, we can call it Princeton, but I think we can call it flow. We can call it a flash game. We can call it offense, in my opinion. I'll try to get back to this big thing here. Slideshow.
From current slide.
From current slide. Thanks. Sorry, I'm not the most technically gifted with the computer. So the offense is designed to be able to play late into the clock. I think you want to be patient. Ball movement, people movement, multiple cutters, multiple spacing, and they're always at the end of the clock. I think there's a ball screen opportunity. Everybody needs to be able to handle the ball and start the offense. I tried to show that on videotape. Everybody needs to be able to play in the post. We posted our post, our 5 and our 4, but we'd post our point guard. We'd post our 3-man. If you have an advantage in the post, I think you want to be able to play in there. And, if everybody's watched The Last Dance, I mean, Jordan, as he got later in his career, added more to his game. One of the things he added was post game, and they would post Jordan a lot. I think you want everybody to be able to play everywhere. And then if you have that, I think and the guys can actually do it and play, I think that you've got something. When spaced off the ball, stand, float for, find open spots, but don't be creeping in. Think layups and think threes. And then, again, you must be able to dribble, pass, and shoot, screen, and cut, versus pressure. And I'll try to talk about some drills that we do to try to create pressure situations that maybe help our execution. whether we're talking about Princeton or whatever you might be, offense you might be running. Oh, sorry. So just some principles of play, spacing 18 to 20 feet, 22 feet apart. You never want one defender to be able to guard 1.5 men. So we're always trying to space the court, space away from each other. As Coach Majerus would say, you can never be too wide, too far apart, or too spaced. It's better to be too spaced than I haven't seen any coaches stop in practice and saying, hey, you guys are too far apart, get in there. I think they're stopping it and saying, hey, let's open up the court. Spaced so that you're always have both feet outside the NBA 3. Only move if you're moving with a purpose. Again, that would be an old motion offense concept, but avoid the temptation of creeping in, avoid the magnet, the pull of the ball, the devil reaching up and grabbing your soul and pulling you to the ball. We're always talking about that, particularly early in the season. Anytime you're talking about good offense, I think you're talking about having an outlet to each side of the ball and somebody in the middle, whether that's in your press offense or whether you're talking about in your half court offense. No lateral spacing. So what I mean by that is if we were to come down and be in a transition, what we call a transition set, or you got a lead post, trail post, you're in low post, and you want to throw a reversal pass to the trailer, you don't ever want to be laterally spaced. You want to be in a lag position. You want to be behind the ball. I think that it creates a situation where your read is much more clearly defined and delineated and allows you to a line of demarcation that really makes it crystal clear whether you're overplayed or not overplayed. I think when you're in a lateral spacing situation, the defense may be able to help and take that away. They can do multiple things. When you're in a lag, I don't think that that's the case. It's a small point, but I think it's an important point. Use the entire court, sideline to sideline, running to the dead corners, opening up the court. And hopefully that video that I tried to show a little bit of us versus Gonzaga demonstrated that. So offense starts with spacing. What would Meyer would say? Offense is spacing. Spacing is offense. That is the most important thing. You're going to screw up your spacing with cutting. You're going to screw up your spacing with screening, but you're always going to get respaced. Open up the court. So how we would teach spacing. First off, just some stationary pass and catch. Teach kids or players what 15, 18 feet is. We work on a drill quite a bit, which is called the no travel drill. Partnered up anywhere on the floor. I've got the ball. I can probably show it on the whiteboard if it shows up at all, but it could be anywhere on the floor. Guy with the basketball, his teammate is here. Can you hear me okay?
We're good.
So he's facing in a triple attack position. He's going to take 2 dribbles hard, either to his right or left. In this case, he goes to the left. While he's going to the left, we're trying to teach the player that without the ball to create space. He wants to go exactly opposite. As he goes opposite of the basketball, that's opening up the court. The ball handler comes to a jump stop, and after he comes to a jump stop, he would then pivot and face the offensive player. We talk about cutting. We never want to be early on the cut. We always want to be late on a cut. When you're talking about being late on your cut, what keys that the cut is eye contact. We never want to cut before eye contact. If you cut before eye contact and you're open, the guy's not ready to give you the ball. There's no point in getting open before the quarterback's ready to throw it. So in this case, he's rather late than early. He faces, and then he's going to come on a sprint towards the basketball. He'll sprint his cut, and ball in the air, feet in the air, come to a jump stop, catch and face. And as he faces, he's going to hold the ball in a triple attack. Maybe work on his foot fakes, his jabs, his shot fakes, whatever it happens to be you're working on as a basketball player that day. And then he's going to dribble to his right or to his left. He dribbles to his left. This guy would increase the space. On eye contact, he's going to make his cut. He's going to come to the ball. It's better to be too late than early. We never want the guy coming too early. We want him to be late. If he comes too early, even if he's open, he may not be able to get the ball. The other thing is, it's going to destroy your spacing because he comes too early and he keeps coming, and before you know it, one player can guard two guys or one and a half guys, which is what we're trying to avoid. And just a simple 2-on-0 drill that we might do is for 2 minutes at the beginning of practice as a warm-up, and it's actually a little bit of a gasser. So, and then I think at the beginning of the season, you start teaching 2-on-0, 4-on-0 perimeter spacing. So you could be at a basket. We can go from 2-on-0 to 4-on-0, but it could be that we're at a basket. On eye contact, he's going to cut. Better be late than early, but he cuts. It's passed. We never want the offensive player to pass and stand. I think that's a sign of immaturity. So when he passes, as soon as he passes, we want to be cutting. And if we were talking about the flash game, we want to be the pace of cut and speed of cut and physicality of cut are very important. Even when you're passing to another perimeter player, we want to have a pace of cut, and we want to be cutting as I think there's one guy that played for me, a very good player. His name's Novell Thomas. He coaches the women's team at Brandon. He was a national team point guard. He was a backup to Steve Nash. We would play without the dribble, and Novell was very good at having the ball, somebody pressuring him, and as he passed, getting his body on a guy and cutting to the basket. And in doing that, when you cut to the basket, whether you front cut or back cut, I think you produce help. So, again, I'm all over the map here with some talk, but as he passes, we're cutting to the front of the rim. We take every cut's a sprint cut, every cut's a scoring cut, every cut is to the front of the rim. This guy needs to see the cutter through to the front of the rim. Cutters become open late. If I got to the front of the rim and I didn't get it, I need to get out, and I got 1 second to get back outside the three, whether that's spacing here or whether that's spacing here. If this were a good cut, and this is the concept of the cut, even if the ball's passed and the defender jumps to the ball and he cuts, if we had another offense player, if we're out here 3-on-0, and this guy can pass, this guy's open. This defender here, if he's outside the lane, he's open, we give him the ball. If the defender is inside disrupting that back cut, then the lift cut is going to be open. That's the read, and I think good players, both this guy and this guy, need to make that read. This guy's making the cut. This guy needs to see what's happening in front of him, and he should know this ahead of time. I've totally abandoned my talk, and I'm all over the map here, but as he cuts, when I'm standing in the corner, I should be looking at this point right here. This gives you the answers to the exam. If you're looking, I know you probably can't see, that's the basket, but the midpoint of the lane, if I'm looking at the midpoint of the lane, it gives me the answers to the exam. I haven't even got the ball yet. I know what's going on. I make an observation. Anytime I'm spaced in the corner, I should be making an observation, not watching the ball, but looking at this right here and seeing the action that happens in front of me. If my defender is committed here, I should know as I lift that I might have a shot on my catch. If he is able to close me back out, this is one instance where we would then duck our defender back in, our offensive player back in, and we may post him. I need to know that on my catch, I've got the post right now. And that's making that read from this position here. That back cut, if it produces help, it now produces a catch and shot. If this guy can play, it produces a good closeout. Because this guy has been on the high side of him as he goes back door, it's produced an opportunity to post. Every cut is a scoring cut. Every cut is a back cut. Every cut needs to be made with physicality. So as I go back door, the way I like to put it is, if I'm strong, if this guy's a strong guy and he can get his body on this guy, this would be like them fronting the post out here. It's an easy high-low pass. I'm doing it on the cut as I'm going. I want to take him higher. I don't want to cut low. If this defender can muscle this guy off this cut, like we saw on the tape with Wolfram went back door, and he was muscled on the one play, and maybe I'll try to show that again. But he was muscled. Now, that would be a tough post feed there. If you post here and you can be physical with the guy and move him closer to the ball, it creates a huge window, and it would be an easy post feed. It's essentially a post feed on the cut. Does that make any sense so far?
It does, Coach. Yeah, you bet. When you're teaching these concepts, you said you do some 2-on-0, some 4-on-0. How much time are you spending 3-on-3, 4-on-4, making the reads with them?
Lots. I mean, I'm just talking about it, at the beginning, and then, and we might, again, that might be something we do 2-on-0, 3-on-0, warming up. At the beginning of the season, I think you spent a lot of time 2-on-0, 3-on-0, just talking about cutting with pace and spacing. But as it goes on, you'd spend a lot of time 2-on-2, 3-on-3, and it may be, off the flash game. So where we're playing like this. So we got a big, we can call him the 5-man, a big up top. We could have a feeder. We could call him the 2-man, whatever we want. We feed him, and we could then go into our flash game where you're trying to cut on, and first off, look at the hand back. And if he's cutting, and if they went under, well, then you need to rescreen it and you got a shot behind, but we're trying to produce the over. And so on the pass, if they must try to muscle and you can physically move that guy and produce the over, which we did in a couple of instances on the videotape, now 5-man, either the one time it was Shemek Karnowski, he's either got to decide to take the ball or take the roller, which, it's a 2-on-1 is really, everybody runs 2-on-1 continuous. Well, we would do this where we might put a defender to begin with. We might put a defender on the passer, come off on the hand back, and play your 2-on-1 continuous drill like that. So everybody runs 2-on-1 continuous in transition, but the game breaks down to 2-on-1. And so on the hand back, if 5's defender goes there, well, then you're hitting the roller. It's a 2-on-1. If he fakes at him, which Karnowski, on this clip, Karnowski faked at the guy in retreat, it just like might happen in a 2-on-1 transition drill, then we'd have a layup. And that's decision making with the basketball. I keep going with the ball until I see the chest of the defender in front of me when I'm one body length away from him. If I see that, then I'm going to pass. If I go 2-on-1 at the rim and I never see the defender's chest in front of me, in this case it's the help defenders, I keep attacking and I score, and it's about layups. If on the roll there was a third player here, we now need to be able to read help on the helper. So they help here. You can then go 3-on-2 where again, if the help defender's outside the lane, the roll's open. If the help defender tags the roller, the lift is open, and on the lift, I'm first open for a shot. If I don't have a shot, I might have a seal back and post feed, and then what you're going to do off the post feed. We can maybe get to what we do off of a post feed, but I've already talked for a long time and I've gotten nowhere in my topic. So I apologize for that. I've gotten like I think I got about 8 points to go through, and I think I'm trying to get through point number 1. Movement without the ball, which is point number 2. I'm not.
No, that's great, Coach. I think that's really important because a lot of us, I don't think, use that concept enough. So when you're showing that, just to stop you, your 5th player is flat on the baseline when you're talking about that overaction on the flash.
Yeah, well, I mean, if we're 5 guys out, I mean, I think, and really now, again, offenses are playing without somebody at the post, and you're playing, we want to call it 5 out.
Right.
You're going to space your big. On the flash game, he's always going to space to his range. If he's got a great range, you can space him right to 3. But, I had a guy that was probably a 17-foot shooter and flashing to 19 feet at the time. But so, I mean, that could be your 5. This could be your 1. You might have a 2 here, a 3, and your 4 might be here, and you've hit. And now, after he hits, there's a number of things. Again, we're not trying to dictate what happens. He could, after he passes, he can't stand. What could he do? He could screen away. He could go over the top. He could cut to the basket. Every time down the floor, I have no idea what guys are going to do. If he cuts either side, he's first into the hand back. If he cuts and his defender doesn't jump to the ball and we can hit the hand back, we'd hit the hand back. And if the guy goes under and he's a good shooter, it's an open shot. You're trying to produce the over. If you produce the over, whether it's on a hand back or off of a ball screen, then I think then you have that 2-on-1 situation or 3-on-2 situation that I tried the diagram on. So he could go a speed game over the top, he could go speed game away, or he could cut to the rim. If 3 is a good poster, one of the things you might do is send him to the rim, screen the lane, and a way to post your guy there, which is something else that we could get into. But
no,
yeah,
that's great, Coach. That's what I was asking. So we got about 5 minutes. Do you want to rip through a couple key points, a couple of things that you didn't get to that you want to touch on, and then I have a couple questions.
I'll finish talking about moving without the ball. Again, cutters got to play against their defender. They got to, if they're played high, cut low. If they're played low, cut high. Every cut's finished at the rim. I know I repeat myself. You cut on eye contact. One of the things I'd say is you never fake a back door. I put that there's no chow, chow, chow cuts. When I was a kid, there used to be a commercial. And I'm probably dating myself, but there was a cat food commercial from Purina, and the cat would go chow, 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 go front, and they'd pause it and go back. And if a guy starts faking, you don't know whether he's going back door or not. We never fake a back door cut. Once you go back door, you're going to the rim. All cuts finish at the front of the rim, and then we'll space out from there. Set up your moving off screens creates that split second help, and that's when the ball can start to move. So we want to come off tight. Anytime we're screening in the Princeton, you don't really screen. You just start squeaking your sneakers. So I run at the defender, the old jump stop and hold your wrist. That's, the way I learned to screen in the Princeton. You just start breaking down, chopping your feet, squeaking your sneakers. And then the offensive player, the cutter who's coming to the screen, he starts squeaking his sneakers. And you're playing one-on-one without the ball. I might go back door. I might go tight off the screen. I might come in on a handoff. And so I'm reading and I'm creating some indecisions. It's like I'm stutter stepping and juking the defender before without the basketball. I think lots of guys got stutter when they got the ball. They stutter, hesitate, stutter cross. You can play one-on-one without the ball and be deceptive. And if you do a good job of that, you're probably going to help get one of your teammates open. So maybe I'll go back to the video and just show a little bit about the little bit that I covered. I apologize.
Yep.
I'm not getting close to do through the stuff that I said I was going to do. But so if I go back to this clip right here, here's Josh with the ball. Again, we pass to the wing, and we're not the most organized, but we get organized, and now we got a big up top. Again, lots of teams there's different ways to get your big up top. We can brush screen in the Princeton to get a guy up top. We can screen and produce help off that. You could just flash them and run a flash game. So we pass, and now as soon as Josh passes, he should be sprinting his cut. He could come on, he goes this way, and he actually does a pretty good job. And if he would just sprint his cut hard, he could produce the over here, we'll see. So right there, we could pass it back to him and produce the over. We're not really doing a great job, again, of 10 toes to the rim facing the basket. We're probably a little overwhelmed by the situation. It was a big crowd, and again, Gonzaga ended up being the top 8 team in the country. So now we dribble and his defender's low. He should dribble at the baseline foot of this guy. He didn't do a great job here. But we produce the over. And now the ball starts to move. Now there's the help defender, which is Pangos. Pangos is wide. And now he comes in to help. And Karnowski in the 2-on-1, this is a 2-on-1 situation. He just fakes at the ball and goes back to his guy, and it's a pretty good read by Rewalt, who gets a left-hand layup. And we work on it might sound stupid, but we spend an inordinate amount of time working on layups every day, full speed. If you're talking about having a game, we probably spend 10 minutes a day on layups, different types of finishes, full speed. Almost what would be considered grade school type stuff. Let me go to this next clip, the one I tried to talk about where Wolfram got muscled off the cut. So we're in a lag. Wolfram's behind the ball. It clearly defines overplay. And now here's his cut. And you can see here, he would like to finish this. If he could take this guy closer to the ball, it would produce a larger window to be able to throw that backdoor cut, which we'll see in the last clip that I try to show again. But if he does, now the low eye, the furthest defender has to, if he's in the lane, the lift's open. If he's outside the lane, the cut's open. We produce the over. Anytime you produce an over and you get muscled off your cut, you want to continue on and screen and split again. We could have gone to the split side. We elected to go away from the split. And we're playing a ball screen. There's the over. He's open right now. Again, we're a little overwhelmed by their size and athleticism, so we can't make that pass. We come back to throw it off his ass into this hole right here. Again, we're a little overwhelmed by the size and athleticism, so we didn't get to that. We punch the gap. This time, Karnowski, instead of faking his help, gives help, and we produce an open 15-footer. I know I'm all over the map, but we would spend a lot of time just shooting, catch and shoot 15, 17-footers. And again, setting a standard where you have to be able to make 3 out of 5 from that spot where he's at, 3 out of 5, 3 out of 5, 3 out of 5, 3 out of 5. Once I know every day I can go in the gym and make 60% of my open shots, I then have confidence. The coach doesn't tell you yet to have confidence. You develop confidence. And that would be a simple shooting drill. Lots of people shoot 15-footers. We'd say in order to go to the next spot, you got to go 3 for 5. If he gets to this spot and he goes 1 for 5, hey, go back to the beginning. Until you can get around and make 3 for 5 from every spot, we can't put you in the basketball game. He catches it and he knocks it in. And then I'll just finish again. pass. We've cut. We're going to get into flash game here. We go over the top. Pretty good screen. He plays high of the screen like he thinks he's going to come on a hand back. He doesn't come on a hand back. We miss the backdoor cutter. He's naked there. If I can just go back just a hair here. Sorry. So we screen, and he's open right now. If he faces the rim, he's got a dunk because the low guy didn't commit in. He's outside. Anytime the guy's outside, he's open. If the defender were on the inside, he would have to see that the defender's on the inside. Anytime you feed the post or a cutter, how you're played, how the cutters played or the posters played, and then how the weak sides played. If the weak side was sitting inside, we'd be spaced and ready for a shot. We got to here. We produced the over, 2 to the ball, 3 to the ball. We hit a little pocket pass. He made the 17-footer, but he couldn't make the 10-footer.
That's great stuff, Coach. That's the way it goes usually, right? They hit the long shot and then not the easy one.
Yeah. Sorry, I didn't even come close to getting through what I had put down there, but
no, Coach, that's great. I had a lot of people because we're overtime for sure. A lot of people are asking for your contact info. Was it on the slideshow, or could you care to share your email?
Yeah.
People are wanting that slideshow for sure.
My email is sclark at tru.ca. So just Clark with no E, sclark at tru.ca.
Okay, and we'll also send people your way because they are definitely asking for your PowerPoint. Coach, I want to thank you for coming on tonight. For me, just the detail in the screening and the cutting and what you guys do offensively, and obviously a passion for you. It's awesome to see you sharing so many details with all of us coaches. And from Basketball Immersion and from Golden Ticket Sports, we're very thankful to have you on tonight, taking the time out of your life to do this. I'm going to leave you with the last word here, and we'll log off for the evening.
Yeah. Thanks for everybody that decided to listen to me, and hopefully maybe there's a couple of thoughts there that created in somebody's brain that things to do or things that they wouldn't do that they saw.